Bwana PS, Professor Hamadi Boga. We are not strangers. We have traveled quite far and wide together in one or two things. And I think the last time, if I'm not wrong, we went to see the research system in Germany. Now, I didn't know you are a PS, but it's very nice. It's extremely nice to see you here. Bwana Gomez, thank you very much for honoring us, all our sponsors. And I, in a special way, reach out to our academic lead, Professor Ruth Kiraka, Professor Simon Wagure in the Innovation Hub, and all the team, Martin, Rosemary, and the entire team of marketing behind the scenes preparing for this program. I'm really, really grateful. And I thank you for being here. SME, and especially in agriculture, is very important. And Professor Hamadi Boga, I am sure you understand that it is the foundation of the growth and expansion of the African economy in a significant way. And I would really like to listen to your comments, since you are the one who understands the policy framework, the investment framework, and the regional ACFTA framework to enhance export of goods and intra-African trade, especially. I was reading when I've just come back from Kigali. I went all the way to Goma, that is to Lake Kivu next to Goma. And I realized that there aren't good services, agribusiness services and value addition in that region, whereas it's the most fertile region of Africa. And I'm wondering how, as Kenyans, we can go and help that situation, because we have all the skills and capability. In fact, one person told me, we are the people who, Kenyans that is, and I'm not saying that with pride, any pride at all, said, we are the people who don't understand our value to the rest of Africa. And that word hit me very, very hard. Why is it that we have the capability to transform Africa, yet we do not? Over to you, Bwana PS. I'll be so grateful to hear your remarks with a lot of affection. And hi, Paul Gomez. It's nice to see you there. It's nice to see you. Thank you very much, and most welcome to the 9th SME conference. Thank you, team. And over to you, PS. Most welcome.
Wananjenga, thank you very much. It's nice to see you after a long time. When we were doing the visit to Germany to look at the research system, I was acting vice chancellor at Taita Taveta University. And after that, I got promoted, probably because of that trip. Now, I think it's always a great pleasure to get the opportunity to interact with the academia around some of these topics that we deal with here daily in the ministry. And it's interesting because we all acknowledge that agriculture is very important for Kenya and very important for Africa, and that most of our trade, whether internal or external, is agriculture driven. So it gives me great pleasure to have this opportunity at this expo where we are interacting with academia around the issue of SMEs. And SMEs are the bedrock of agriculture. And in the ministry, we give that a lot of priority in our policy documents and in our strategies. And we have quite a number of these documents, some of which are still in revision. So all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, gives me great pleasure to join you during this occasion of the 9th Annual Strathmore University SME Conference and Expo. And I take this early opportunity to thank the Strathmore University and all the stakeholders for the tremendous work that you're doing. This SME conference is significant for all of us as stakeholders to take stock of the issues in the sector and how it's coming out, especially in the wake of COVID and all these other shocks that are happening right now. As you may know, some of in the sector, especially the agriculture sector, is being impacted by drought, is being impacted by high fuel prices, is being impacted by high fertilizer prices. So it's a good time to sit and exchange, not just looking at the past, but also looking at current affairs and how they are impacting the sector and the actors in the sector, most of whom are small and medium entrepreneurs. So I urge all participants to engage and to learn. We are also here to learn. My team is in the background also listening in and learning. I think it's important to note that we value the involvement of private sector in the agriculture sector. And most of our laws in Kenya, as well at the regional level, tend to focus more on how to facilitate the private sector to invest more in this sector and to play and to create a level playing ground field for them to act. At the continental level, you are aware of the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program and the 5th Malabo Commitment, which aims to boost intra-Africa trade in agriculture, goods and produce. And we get evaluated biannually through reviews to show how we are making progress in the various areas. So the idea to transform our agriculture comes, of course, out of the conversations in the African Union and other engagements that we are having across the globe, including the recently concluded Africa Green Revolution Forum, which we held here in Nairobi, and the UN Food Systems Summit, which was concluded the other day. All that is about agriculture, food, and the ecosystem that produces that food, and the players, most of whom are smallholder farmers, who are the bulk of the farmers globally. And that means the idea of SME starts right from the farmer, because the farmer themselves are an SME. And of course, made of many other SMEs. So African governments, and especially our government, is very keen on this. And of course, we are signatory to a number of continental treaties like the Africa Free Trade Area, where I think we were very quick to ratify, and where the ratification process is ongoing. It creates an opportunity for our SMEs, not just here in Kenya, but also across Africa. And the reason why we sign and ratify these treaties is especially because we know we can open up more opportunities to trade, and also for businesses and for interaction across the continent, so that our people can trade, but our people can also interact at different levels culturally in the African continent. And of course, domestically, the government has continued to develop various policies. You have heard of reforms in the coffee sector, in the tea sector. We have done a lot on cotton. We are struggling with sugar because of court cases, but the intention was to open up that space by leasing those companies. And we have concluded development of the agriculture policy in consultation with the stakeholders. And we also concluded the development of the agriculture sector transformation and growth strategy, our Vision 2030. All these documents are designed in such a way that we want a commercially oriented, market-driven agriculture, away from too much state control and interference, and to modernize basically our agricultural sector and the activities that go on there. And in our strategy, we have divided it into 3 main anchors, which I think are very important at this stage. The first anchor is an inclusion anchor. An inclusion anchor is where we are focusing on smallholder farmer and getting them to commercialize. And for that, we know if we do it well and support around 1,000 SMEs around the smallholder farmer, and these SMEs provide different kind of services, financial equipment services and mechanization services, input supply services, and there's a range of inputs from agrochemicals to fertilizer to seeds to all manner of inputs that the farmers need. And of course, organizing the farmers into farmer groups, because smallholder farmers, for them to create scale, they have to be in cooperative or producer organization or whatever name we want to call it, which makes it easier to serve them on the input side and easier to serve them on the output side, which can also be done by SMEs, especially off-take contracts, as well as storage facilities and post-harvest handling services, including agro-processing at the small scale as well as at the large scale. So this is an inclusion pillar, which is key because we have to support the smallholder farmer, because our economy is agriculture and our agriculture is smallholder, and the smallholder is supported by these SMEs. So that is very priority for us. We used to supply them with the fertilizer subsidy, which was distorting the market. We have made effort to get out of the fertilizer business ourselves. Instead, embracing digitization, we have given them what we call e-vouchers. We are embracing the e-voucher, where a farmer is given a voucher, a farmer is registered, and we have a farmer register, and the farmers who are being supported are done through a voucher at 40%. And then we're able to know the farmer, we're able to support them with extension, and we're able to track productivity progress throughout the year. So that has been a major, major reform, which I think if we sustain.
Okay, apologies for that. Dr. Njeng, I think we just lost his feed.
At what point did you lose me?
I think we were at a point where you had spoken briefly about government exiting fertilizers, and then you were speaking a little bit more about partnerships with industry actors. So that was the thematic area.
Yes, thank you very much. So, for example, in the fertilizer program, where we have we were dealing with purchasing and distributing through NCPB, the boards, which were very far from the farmers, we have embraced the agrovets. So we have registered agrovets, we have registered farmers, and we are linking the farmers to the agrovet through the e-voucher system, which is supported also by M-Pesa payments through Safaricom in collaboration with KCB. So this is a partnership which is thriving and which is being scaled up. At the beginning, we were targeting about 300,000 farmers, but as we move forward, this will become a way of life. The only thing we have to guard against is because sometimes counties, because it's popular to distribute fertilizer anyhowly, sometimes counties go and do the old model of buying fertilizer for distribution. And yet there is a challenge of the fact that you could buy the right fertilizer for the wrong place because there is no soil testing and so on and so forth. So those are some of the reforms which we have been pushing to support the sector, especially the smallholder farmer, with a clear focus on SMEs in the inclusion pillar. But in the growth pillar, we are focusing on agro hubs. These are really agro hubs that will bring about rural transformation by putting in place agro processing facilities near the smallholder farmers. And we are also pushing for some large-scale farms. It's traditional to have large-scale farms side by side with small-scale farms so that they can support each other in terms of technology and knowledge, but also in terms of off-take and agro-processing opportunities. And our colleagues in Ethiopia are doing the same, and we are learning from that. And we have a number of feasibility studies going on in that area. And so we are keen on making sure that through flagship number 1 of our SDGs, we get our smallholder farmers supported to align to continental issues, to align to regional issues, and also internally to work together with large-scale farmers and agro-processing facilities near them to enable this sector to now become fully commercial and to remove the uncertainty that is tied with farming. Of course, especially where where market access has been a big issue. The ministry also has been developed the youth in agribusiness strategy, because we feel most of the agribusinesses are owned by retirees, people above 59 years old, while the consumer is largely young people of around 17 years old. So we have a number of programs through the 4K clubs, through Enable Youth programs and other programs to incentivize youth through access to land, access to financing, access to capacity building and training and mentorship for them to also go into this sector. So we have the strategy for this, but we also have a program that is supported by the African Development Bank to bring more youth. It's in the tune of 3 billion, and His Excellency the President, when he was relaunching the 4K clubs, he also launched this Enable Youth program, which is rolling out. And here we are partnering with AFC because they are the ones who will be handling the financing facility through the instrument provided by the African Development Bank. So we recognize the role of SMEs, and in our policies, we seek to enhance their participation and work with them to move them in the right direction as far as the agriculture sector is concerned. Another anchor which is key, and this is key globally, is the anchor of resilience. Issues of weather, issues of COVID, issues of economic shocks, issues of pandemics like COVID, issues of locusts, all of those create a crisis. And the ministry has, over the last 3 years, built capabilities, of course, to manage this crisis. We manage the locusts very well with the support of the private sector. We have managed the COVID situation through a food security war room, which was organized together with the private sector to make sure that the sector was not impacted. Actually, the sector remained resilient around that time. And of course, there are the climate issues like right now. We really need to work with policies that will make sure that the farmers will continue to produce and businesses will not be affected through continuous production under resilient conditions and investments that will make sure that the farmer will be able to produce. Also, when the rainfall is unpredictable like this requires changes in technology, farming technology, of course, climate smart. And the ministry has a big program on climate smart agriculture that supports our communities to adapt to climate change. But also, of course, we supplement the shortages through imports so that businesses can continue. So some of these challenges that come require working together. But as you are aware, we have also reformed NCPB. We were distorting the maize market seriously since the last 2 years when we moved out and reformed that sector. It's quiet, and we hope it will continue to be quiet even in the coming election year. And the reforms of installing the warehouse receipting systems, which is being operationalized, and a food balance sheet committee where the private sector is involved. All those are to create an environment where people can do predictable business. I think the area where we really need to focus on, all of us together, is the issue of financing. I think this is still a bit of challenge, and probably as we move along, we'll find time to work around how to finance our SMEs, our agriculture sector better. There are instruments there from the private sector and some instruments from the public sector, but we need to think together how to make it better, make it more predictable, and how to de-risk the lenders. Otherwise, this is a sector that is important for the agribusinesses, and we should put more effort on it. The sector that we have put a lot of emphasis is, of course, digitization. We have a digital agriculture strategy that looks at the role of the government and public sector in digitization services, working closely with the private sector to create a framework, how we can access data when we register farmers, how to address the issue of farmer data, privacy, intellectual property. And of course, we are focusing on the inputs supply through e-voucher, that is a digital service, extension support to farmers, that is a digital service. And I know there are a lot of creatives in the digital space where our young people, we have supported them through programs with World Bank to develop digital solution and work with counties to offer those solutions to farmers at the different levels of services. So the SME services that are serving farmers are not necessarily analog. Some of them are very digital, and we applaud that and we support that. And we will continue to create a framework that will support that. And one of them is to hire accelerators to mentor those SMEs that are in the digital space to be able to continue providing services to farmers. So our strategy is fully focused on making sure that the private sector is fully involved, and all our programs as we develop them now, we want to link farming activities with the market in mind and with our private sector partner in mind, and all the way from input support all the way to the output support. And sometimes it takes a cultural shift, which we are working very hard to do. It takes letting go of certain past programs, which we are willing to do because reforms require that. And through some of our initiatives and the discussions that are going forth, the programs that we are developing for the next 5 years, we'll see more of this. Conversations like this will give us an opportunity to also input what the lessons that we learn. And let me send the regards of Honorable Peter Munya, who has been our driver here of most of these reforms and who has been the champion in leading the implementation of the agriculture sector strategy. Let me applaud colleagues from the private sector like ASNET, the Agriculture Sector Network, which has been supportive and which has been calling us to attention in case some things were not quite right in a give and take kind of situation. And so I recognize all our partners. There are quite many, and including the development partners who work with us to create this kind of environment that enables us to support the sector. So let me thank you, and let me stop there. I was reluctant to read the document word by word because of time, and also for your document.
Thank you very much, PS Boga. Thank you very, very much for those remarks, and thank you for those regards from Honorable CS Peter Munya. We appreciate that, and all the best. We are very keen as a business school and as a university to continue engaging even after this conversation. I know your team is here and you'll be represented even after you leave us. Dr. Njenga, if you're still with us, any comments for what Professor PS?
Professor PS is an incredible scientist, and I appreciate him very much. Professor Hamadi, I'm just wondering what happened to our plan for establishing a similar research system as that of Germany. Eh? You didn't speak about that, but fine. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, you know, we were dreaming about our curries, our ilris, our isipes, and all those coming together in an integrated way so that we can have an integrated approach towards transforming agricultural production. But the second thing is, I'm very, very glad to hear about the connection we have with the ACFTA and all the international agreements. As you realize right now, we are only serving 2% of our capability in agro services and in agro production around our intra-African trade within CESAC, the Central East and Southern Africa region. I was studying that data lately in Rwanda when I was looking at the Rwandan situation. So one thing that struck me was that we do not have a market system approach that can transform the mentality of our producers. A market system means what drives production is an established market linkage system for goods and produce. And it is big. Lately, I have been looking at the area of agro oils, organic oils from avocado, macadamia, vegetable oils. We cannot satisfy the needs. In fact, we need to reach out to people like DRC, people like Ethiopia, and see how we can combine the strategy of producing oils for the whole of Asia and Europe and the United States of America. So whereas I do agree that our SME sector is quite unable to reach the markets easily, to get the financing to do it, to get the skills and technology necessary to run a value addition process, agri process, I think we can't give up. We need to go on, but let me hear what you say. It is a kind of comment, but also a question, Professor Hamadi. You know what I'm talking about, my brother.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think when the desire to shape our research system is still there, and we have worked in the time that I'm here, I'm also in charge of agricultural research. So we have worked together with the CG centers, including ISIPE, to redo the National Agricultural Research Systems policy. And so we have a new policy that shows how all these organizations will work together under one system, and spearheaded mostly from the Ministry of Agriculture, the State Department of Agricultural Research. And that way we will remove some of those challenges that we had. I think the bit that has been difficult is to persuade ourselves to invest more, especially in our research institution. But the issue of coordination, of collaboration, of working together, of professors, of bringing in the private sector, this has been addressed through this new policy. And the consultative process has been all-inclusive. I think where you and I and every stakeholder in the agriculture sector and in the research sector is how to work with the National Treasury to make the right investments. This, I acknowledge, is a problem. Otherwise, and I think with a little bit resourcing, the working will be even easier because people will seek out the partnerships that will be beneficial to their projects. Otherwise, the other comments are welcome. One time I visited a farm in Timau under the Agriventure group of farms. These are big scale farmers and they're doing all manner of things. And I learned quite a few basic things, which I knew, but which I had forgotten like everybody else. Basically, they have large farms, they have an agro processor, and they have linked to their smallholder farmers. So the smallholder farmers have no problem. They grow because they know they're growing for the large farm, and the large farm knows the market. So if we can recreate that model, we'll be okay, whatever the value chain. Yeah, and I think this is the opportunity. And that is why we've really been pushing for large-scale farms. But because of the issue of land nationalism, the moment you talk about giving somebody 3,000 acres, the whole village is in uproar. And yet that is the system that Ethiopia has embraced. And so their smallholder farmers are feeding into large farms, into agro-processors, and into the market. So that we move away from this trial and error kind of farming, where you farm and then look for the market, and then you get frustrated. Otherwise, I really appreciate your comments, Professor.
Thank you very much, Bona PS. I think we should sit down for a cup of tea and then we discuss more issues.
Absolutely, I agree. When you're in Nairobi, look me up when you're in Nairobi.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, PS, and thank you for gracing this occasion, and do send our regards to Honorable CS Peter Munya.